What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to K-Series Parts. Today we're going to give you another tech tip. On today's tech tip, we're going to show you how to leak down test your motor. We're going to be doing a K24 on this one. Pretty applicable to everybody I think that's watching this. So here's how you do it. First, we're going to go over the tools you need. The most important thing is a leak down tester. Obviously, you're going to need that. These can be purchased at Harbor Freight for a reasonable price. I'm not entirely sure how much they are off the top of my head, but let's be honest, Harbor Freight's cheap for everything. Second thing you're going to need, spark plug socket, 10mm socket, and lastly, a piece of wire. You can use a hanger or really anything that's long and skinny and straight that isn't going to put debris in your cylinder. We'll show you what you're using this for later, but let's get to it. So, very first thing we're going to do, I've already done, is pull out the spark plug. If you still have your coil cover on, you're going to have to remove your coil cover. It's a few 10mm bolts, and then there's one more 10mm bolt holding the coil on. Once the coil is out, you can use your spark plug socket to remove the spark plug. Then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the motor to top dead center. And that's where this rod comes into play. So, let's just say we're doing this cylinder right here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rotate the motor so that this rod stops going up. Okay, so now that I'm done hurting myself, we're gonna be watching this rod right here. Now what you're looking for is you're gonna watch the tip or wherever you want, and you're gonna wait until it goes up and it'll pause for a second and then it'll start going back down. So what you wanna look for is you wanna look for that pause. So Jake, if you wanna go ahead and rotate it so they can see it, we'll show you exactly what we're looking for. All right, it's going up, going up, going up. Compression stroke, here we go.
Oh, right there.
It was still going up. Oh, there, now it's going back down. You were right. Okay, so we just passed it. So we're gonna go back or another full rotation. Jake's going back, okay. Still going up, still going up.
Right there.
Okay.
I have no compression, it just stopped right there.
That is top dead center. Okay, so that's the neutral spot. That's right when the piston is basically done traveling up and it's at its very apex. And it's about to start traveling back down. That's where you want it. Both valves are going to be closed, top of the compression stroke. So, once you've got it there, you're going to take the attachment for the leak down tester. This end just screws into the spark plug hole, and the O-ring will seal it. So we'll go ahead and do that. And if you're doing this on any motor, well, on any motor, you need to make sure that this attachment matches the threads on your spark plug in diameter and pitch. Okay. So now that we got that done, I'm gonna hook it up. And before I actually pressurize this, I'm gonna kind of go over what we're looking for here. So the way that this works is it applies pressure to the cylinder, and then you're basically looking for where that pressure is escaping if it's escaping. So for example, if you have, let's say, bad rings, you're gonna be seeing oil, or sorry, not oil, but you're gonna be seeing pressure or hearing pressure escaping through your crankcase, right? So we're gonna leave this off. Bam. So if you got pressure coming out of your crankcase, you've got bad rings, right? Or a bad head gasket. Well, I'll get into that in a sec. If you've got pressure coming out your intake, right? So if you're a throttle body, you can feel air coming out of it. So if it's coming out of your intake, you have a bad intake valve seat or a bent intake valve. If you hear air or feel air coming out your exhaust, conversely, you have a bad exhaust valve or a bent exhaust valve. Now, it is also very important that you leak down test each individual cylinder as well. You do all of them, not just one of them. And the reason for that is because obviously you want to know what bad components there are, but you also want to know what the leak down numbers are on adjacent cylinders, right? So let's say I have air coming out of the crankcase, right, on this cylinder, but then I do this one and it also has leak down. Well, because those are sharing basically a barrier between the two, that air could be leaking through the head gasket. You could have a blown head gasket, right? So that's one of the things it can help tell you. This is basically a universal tool for diagnosing the overall health of an engine. Okay, so at this point we're ready to pressurize the cylinder. So I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna show you what you're looking for. All right, there we go. Throw some pressure, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and we'll go to 100. There we go. Okay, so now you can see that this needle is still in this box right here. That's really good. That means this motor is really healthy. So basically the further this needle travels, the more air is actually bleeding out of that cylinder, and that indicates that you have an issue. So you want between 90 and 100% on your leak down. So this motor's in great health. But we do hear a little bit of air escaping, and it's coming out the intake. I can hear it. So we may have just barely gotten that intake valve open. I would assume it might not be perfect on the top dead center. We didn't exactly do this scientifically right now, but that gives you an idea of what it'll sound like. So I don't know if you can pick that up on the microphone or not, but you can actually hear it right next to the pipe. I don't know how well that's going to come up. But yeah. It is fairly audible though. At this point, we are done with that cylinder, so we would want to push forward and do all the adjacent cylinders as well. You want to make sure you do all of them, write down all your numbers, and then you can kind of compare all your data and get an overall picture of the health of your motor. So this is a great thing to do, whether or not you think you've got something wrong. It can actually help you find issues before they really start to become a problem. So remember, leak down test your motor, keep your car up to date, keep your car maintenance, and thanks for joining us for our tech tip. See you later.